Okay, Madam Chair, take it away.
Call to order the September 1st, 2020 meeting of the Seward Planning and Zoning Commission. Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner DeMoss, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
DeMoss,
Here.
Ambrosiani,
Here.
Charbonneau,
Here.
Hatfield,
Here.
Cease,
Here.
Swan,
Here.
and Chair Eklund.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we're at agenda item 4, citizens' comments on any subject except those items intended for public hearing. Those who have signed in will be given the first opportunity to speak. Time is limited to 3 minutes per speaker and 36 minutes total time for this agenda item. Is there anyone signed in to this item?
There's no one in the audience, but we do have one for phone comment.
And this is a comment not related to those that we have for public hearing?
Correct. It has nothing to do with the ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please dial the authorization code.
Hello, this is Mackenzie.
Hi, Mackenzie. This is Eric Kajowski with the City of Seward. You're on with the Planning Commission. Could you state your name and location?
Yes,
You got
my name
3
is
minutes.
Mackenzie McCarthy. I'm located in Elmer, Alaska.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Eric. And thank you for the Planning and Zoning Commission for giving me an opportunity to chat here. So, like I stated, my name is Mackenzie. I work with SysBoss. We are an internet service provider that's located currently in Homer. We're based in Homer. We're expanding across the Central Peninsula and Kenai, Sterling, Soldotna areas at this point. And we're currently investigating opportunities that have been presented to us by the borough for expanding our service into the Seward area. So we are looking into that. We are very interested to see what kind of opportunities there are for us to be able to improve the communications infrastructure in Seward. I've been kind of perusing around the current offerings that are through GCI and Alaska. I think are the two big providers, and I feel like there's a pretty big market both inside Seward city limits as well as the surrounding communities for us to bring our kind of unique methodology of wireless internet, we microwave-based internet to reach out to people's homes, provide them internet with small dishes, things like that. So we're kind of in the early planning stages of trying to make that happen. Right now we're looking at tower sites outside of Seward proper, but we're also constantly exploring ways to bring service into Seward as well. So I just kind of wanted to take a moment to let everyone know who we are, what we're doing, what our interest is in the community, and provide an opportunity if anybody there on the Planning and Zoning Commission or any community members have interest in reaching out to us. Start that process, start those talks. So our website, spitwspots.com. You're more than welcome to reach out there. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the company. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. Andy Dakin has my contact information. He's welcome to pass that along as well. I'm happy to field questions as they come up from any of the members if there's any kind of follow-up. So that's pretty much my piece. That's all I wanted to state.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you all.
Is there anyone else?
Wonderful evening.
Is there anyone wishing to ask a question of Mackenzie?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, let's see if you have any questions.
No, I hung up.
Yeah, I know, but we can call
Oh,
it back.
okay, we can call it back,
Any
yeah.
questions?
Okay. Mackenzie's off the phone?
Yep,
Okay. All right. And no one else signed in at this time?
no, we have no others signed in at this time.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 5, approval of agenda and consent agenda. I'll accept the motion from the commission.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Charbonneau. Do we have a second?
Kelly Hatfield.
Thank you. Kelly was the second?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion, additions, deletions on the agenda or the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote on this motion.
Thank you. A roll call vote on the approval of the agenda. Charbonneau?
Yes.
Swan?
Yes.
Demas?
Yes.
Ambrosiani?
Yes.
Cease?
Yes.
Hatfield?
Yes.
And Chair Eklund.
What about Commissioner Swan?
He was the second person called.
Okay.
So yes,
Thank you.
and,
Yes.
okay. All right, the agenda is passed and approved, and approved on tonight's consent agenda are the July 21st, 2020 rescheduled special meeting minutes.
Thank you. That takes us to item 6A on the agenda, City Administration Report. Community Development Director Wild.
Madam Chair, administration has nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. On item B, is there any other reports, announcements, or presentations? Seeing and hearing none, that will take us on to our public hearing for the evening. We have no unfinished business items that require public hearing, and item B is new business items, and I will ask Planner Kachelski to read the resolution into the minutes, please.
Okay.
The title.
Yes. A resolution of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, recommending City Council amend Title 15 of Seward City Code regarding commercial communications towers to provide special provisions for such land use.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, discussion and amendment to Title 15 pertaining commercial communication towers has been a priority since 2015. The City Council has approved this priority for the P&Z, and members of the public requested that we review and amend this section of Title 15. We have had 3 work sessions pertaining to communication towers: June 16, 2020, July 21, 2020, and August 18, 2020. The outcome of these work sessions is the ordinance presented to you herein. Some of the most recent changes to the code in front of you include a definition of equipment, which speaks to Ms. Griswold's suggestion on August 18. Several rewordings for clarification suggested by the agents for Verizon and AT&T. The inclusion of the ability to mount towers on buildings per discussion August 18, 2020. Reference to the variance process for relief from development regulations, and a reference for appeals to the Board of Adjustments in cases of denials. These are the major changes that are before you since the August 18th revision or work session. We have 3 people signed up for public comment by phone. And we, Andy, did we have comment? Okay. And that is the summary of our staff report.
Thank you. At this time, could you please call or bring the first commenter up to the podium? Thank you.
Did we have comment? No. Okay. Since we have no comment from the audience, I will call our first commenter.
Who are we calling?
Meredith Pabst. 6.
Please dial the authorization code.
This is Mary.
Hi, Meredith. This is Eric Kajelski with the City of Seward. You're on with the Planning Commission. Could you state your name and location, and you will have 5 minutes to speak?
Yes, thank you. This is Mary Pabst of Wireless Policy Group, and I'm speaking on behalf of AT&T. I'm calling, or you're calling me, from Washougal, Washington. Good evening, Chair Eklund and Commissioners. We appreciate the opportunity to speak again tonight. We did send a comment letter yesterday highlighting AT&T's principal concern with the code. And this is, again, the requirement for tower height setbacks in the downtown, where the area is dominated by small lot sizes. And AT&T's concern is that this requirement will likely leave few, if any, opportunities for siting a tower in this area. That's really an area of high demand, where AT&T needs a new facility. And we did observe that the city's most recent draft includes a cross-reference to variances, and it appears that the city intended to address AT&T's concerns with that reference. But we just wanted to draw your attention to the variance test and point out that traditional variances aren't really effective in the case of wireless permitting, where generally the question is one of whether wireless service would be prohibited. Instead, traditional variances look at providing relief from hardship. Say, for instance, that there's a small lot where all the lots in the area are large. The city might relieve an applicant from landscaping, buffering, setbacks, other lot requirements, so that lot owner could develop their lot in the same manner as others in their area. And this can be seen in the city's code, where it requires the applicant to demonstrate that its unique conditions to its property are not applicable to other lands and structures in the district. So under this criterion, AT&T and other carriers would not be able to get relief from the setback requirement that's of concern in this case. What we did do, and this is because other jurisdictions have tackled this problem and recognize that special criteria makes sense in this context, because you really want to be addressing the issues of whether a denial would prohibit service or have the effect of prohibiting wireless service in violation of federal law. So we offered up an example of a test that has been adopted by other jurisdictions in Oregon, Washington, and other areas that gets directly to the issue about whether the enforcement of the condition or standard would prohibit service. It requires that a design minimize impacts. It requires that the relief from the standard is narrowly tailored. So for instance, if it's a height adjustment, the applicant would have to justify the height requested and show it's the minimum height needed in order to effectively serve the area. I did also have a chance to look at Verizon's comments that they've submitted today, and AT&T supports either version. I noted that they pointed out one of the same issues here. And finally, we incorporate by reference our prior comments. We submitted the red line you had seen before again, and we thank you for your consideration. And if you have any comments, I'd be happy to answer them. Also, Ken Lyons, who's spoken at your prior work sessions, is available by phone as well.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions from the commission for our speaker? Okay, I don't hear anyone there. I have a question regarding coverage area. What is the coverage area of a, let's say, a 50-foot tower? What's the coverage area?
Well, the area that can be served, it depends on multiple factors. One factor is the frequency used in the service. If it's a higher frequency, the signal doesn't travel as far. Another factor involved is any sort of obstructions or other, say, buildings or trees or other items or objects that might block the signal. This is continually an issue when a carrier is providing in-building service because the signal has to penetrate the building. So, and then there's signal loss when that happens as well. There's other factors that, you know, affect it in different ways, and this is one of the reasons why we had asked that the area in which an applicant evaluates other alternatives be smaller than a half a mile, and that it be reduced to a quarter of a mile, because really, if a carrier is providing higher service at a higher frequency, it wouldn't travel as far.
Thank you. Any additional questions for the speaker? Thank you. At this time, I'll ask the staff to call the second speaker.
Thank you, Meredy.
Thank you.
Okay, our second speaker is Kim Allen.
Please dial the authorization code.
This is Kim Allen.
Hi, Kim. This is Eric Kozelski with the City of Seward. You're on with the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you could state your name and location, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Eric. My name is Kimberly Allen, and I'm with the Wireless Policy Group. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Verizon Wireless, and I'm currently located in Olalla, Washington. On behalf of Verizon Wireless, I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide the comments on this proposed wireless facility code amendment. It's very important that Verizon have a path forward to continue to provide the level of service that your residents and businesses expect. I think my colleague, Meredy Temp, covered the issue of the variance and how it's just not a suitable fit to evaluate whether relief from standards to avoid an effective prohibition of service should be granted. There are several criteria, especially the one that she highlighted, that simply cannot be met. Typically, we lease a very small portion of an already developed piece of land to put our towers, and which is at odds with the variance purpose to provide a reasonable use for properties that don't share the same characteristics as the ones surrounding them. So we are asking, we have proposed a more abbreviated version of the deviations of home design standards, although we support either of those alternatives. I think it's important for the city to have a method or a way to provide a path forward if denial would result in an effective prohibition of service under the Telecommunications Act of 1996. So we are asking to make this final change before forwarding the recommendation to the City Council. Additionally, as I note in my letter, the land use table itself prohibits wireless facilities in more than half of the zones in the city. And so the city, again, was challenged under the Telecommunications Act of 1996 for effective prohibition of service in those areas in the event that we could not serve those areas from a less sensitive zone. So what we're asking is to add in a conditional use permit process that would require us to demonstrate that there's no alternative other than going into the particular zone that is currently prohibited. And at least have some method to provide path forward to avoid coming at us with the Telecommunications Act. Additionally, in section 1510-250C3D, there's a requirement for a map that addresses the needs of the site. A lot of these sites are being built to add capacity where there is existing coverage and people can place a phone call already. Capacity does not map effectively. And so we're asking that you include an option to provide other documentation to justify the needs of the site other than simply a map. An evolution in what the needs of these sites are and the technology of mapping just really doesn't capture capacity, which happens at different times of the day, and you may have great coverage in the middle of the night. So with those changes, we think that there would be a workable path forward that would be federally compliant for the city, and we would request that you make these few changes before forwarding your recommendation on to the City Council. And with that, I thank you for your time this evening and for your hard work on this code, and we stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask the commission if they have any questions for the speaker. I'll go around the commission. Commissioner Charbonneau, do you have any questions?
No.
Commissioner Ambrosiani?
No.
Commissioner Cease?
No.
Commissioner Hatfield?
I guess I just want to try and understand what both, and maybe you can help us out, Kim, but both companies keep saying that a half a mile is too far, they need to have it within a quarter mile. Our town is less than a mile wide, so are you saying that on the outskirts of town, on the edge of town where it's on a mountainside, you couldn't put a tower there and put a tower at the waterfront and hit every single section of downtown with 2 towers?
That's what we're telling you. The frequencies that carries data, which is the current need that we are seeing in our network, those are the higher frequencies, and they travel much less far, and they are also more sensitive to obstruction by buildings, by topography, and by water, which does very strange things with wireless signals. It causes the signal to bounce and perform in ways that it wouldn't ordinarily further inland. So your particular downtown area is a lot of study challenges, and we understand that the quarter mile standard has also been adopted near your location, and we would urge you to bear that in mind. If we could serve your downtown from a location that is outside of it, or with 1 or 2 towers, we sure would have proposed that before now. We're coming in and finding that that's just not a feasible alternative to serve the network objectives of providing the extra data capacity that everybody's using, working from home, especially during this crisis. So,
That's
Thank you. Commissioner Demas?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Swan?
None.
Thank you. At this time, I will thank the speaker and move on to our next speaker, please.
Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I have Ken Lyons as the third speaker, and I will call him now.
Please dial the authorization code.
Hi, this is Ken.
Hi, Ken, this is Eric Kozelski with the City of Seward. You're on with the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you could state your name and location, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. My name is Ken Lyons, calling on behalf of AT&T. I live in Lake Forest Park, Washington. It's nice to see you all. I can actually see you all on YouTube. So I am waving at you, but you can't see me. But thank you for this opportunity to speak. I had actually intended to basically be available to answer questions, related to issues that come up. I've had the pleasure of being a part of your, some of your work sessions and study sessions, and have been able to hopefully provide some notes. Just a couple of follow-up items I'll just mention is that, we can't go on a mountaintop or on the outskirts of the city and beam into the city and effectively deal with the demand. I think that's something we've been trying to repeat. We have sites in the city today, downtown covered, really from a coverage perspective today from across the water, the site we have there. But the reality is that the demand and the way that the antennas work, the number of directions that the antennas have, the carrying capacity that a cell site has, does not work to basically look at really a zoning code. I think that thinks about how wireless is provided really 30 years ago, which is where there was thought that we could just locate on mountaintops, beam across water. There wouldn't be a need for facilities. We have sites to answer one of the questions that came up in the chair was about, for example, how much coverage can a 50-foot site get? Well, Mary, I think, explained there's a lot of different factors to go into that, but we have 50-foot tall sites that cover no more than 4 to 6 square blocks. It depends on what the coverage objective is. If the need is to focus a signal to provide the maximum amount of capacity, that means you're using that site to cover a smaller area to pick up. Again, it's more about high demand that you're trying to address. We have sites that's primary purpose is coverage. The city of Seward and the way that people are using phones today are moving into an environment where they need more capacity. More capacity is needed, which means that our sites that are intended for coverage do not do a very good job of picking up both coverage and capacity, which is why these sites are needed. The other comment I would just make is that I think I heard at one of the last work sessions is that there's a thought that maybe Seward can adopt stricter regulations than the federal government, stricter regulations perhaps the state. And to a certain extent, we want to make sure that we understand that there's aesthetic controls, making sure that we have sites that are appropriately located, that look appropriate. But it's very important to note that the Telecom Act, the FCC orders that adopted that address this particular thing, they do have a preemptive effect, which means that having regulations that have that effectively prohibit the provision of wireless service, of which capacity is one of those things, is something that we're very deeply concerned about. And I think that's why we're hoping that there could be some sort of relief valve in the code to be able to address, I think, some of these concerns. So the city doesn't box itself into a situation where we have true need to be able to place a facility, but there isn't a path in the code to be able to get there because of the way that the code is written. So that's our request. We really do appreciate your time. We know this is a very complicated topic, and it's different than other types of land uses that we typically see. But we appreciate all your time and very good questions we've seen. And I'm happy to answer any questions or just be available for questions if needed. Thank you again for all your time, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Hold on one second. Cindy, did you have questions for Ken?
Yes, I was going to go through the commission to see if they had any. Sorry, I had my phone on mute. Commissioner Swan, do you have any questions for Ken?
No.
Commissioner DeMoss?
No.
Commissioner Hatfield?
No.
Commissioner C?
No.
Commissioner Ambrosiani?
No.
Commissioner Charbonneau?
No.
Thank you. At this time, I have no further questions. Thank you for your time, Ken, and go back to staff to see if we have any other callers or public comment for this item.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
These three were the only three that had signed up for public comment during this hearing.
Just a follow-up to that, I know that we have a timeline for people to make their comments known to you. Did we have any members of the Seward public call in maybe late saying they wanted to speak on this item?
I did not get any calls.
No, no emails or texts from any companies saying they wanted to speak on the item or citizens?
No, not to my phone.
Thank you.
Not to Andy's either.
All right. Thank you, Andy. Community Development Director Wild, did you have anyone contact you regarding public comment on this item? She may be on mute. That's okay. I just want to make sure that our local that due to this convoluted way of having meetings that you can only operate within a window of time to make the request known. So
Chair,
I guess at this time I'll close the.
Madam Chair, there's a citizen in the audience asking to be acknowledged.
Oh, great. If there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item, could they come forward, state their name and address for the record? And you have 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, Tanya Lebrecht, 219 6th Avenue. I was at the work session recently. I actually didn't have a detailed comment for tonight, but I did email in saying that I was present and listening on the actual live feed. It was a little hard to hear, so I decided just to walk on over. I appreciate the opportunity to be really informed. I do really also appreciate the fact that we're a very open forum like this, and that we're getting to hear the comments from both the folks that are interested in this issue as well as ourselves being able to address those. So I'm here to listen and learn more than anything else, but I could have been the one, if you did see an email, that would have sent you one that might have confused things. So I apologize. Tanya Lebrecht, 219 6th Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. I've moved my phone off of speakerphone and I'm speaking directly into it. I hope that helps the audio. Is there any other people in the hall or coming in the door wishing to speak on this item?
Andy's gonna go look.
Check the restrooms too.
I think we're okay on that, but at this time, I could close the public hearing on this and bring it back to the commission for a motion. If someone does come in, of course, they'll have an opportunity to speak at the end of the meeting during citizens' comments, or we could relax the rules and open the public hearing again. So I will bring it to the commission for a motion.
I move that we pass ordinance 2020-10.
I'll second it.
Is that Commissioner Hatfield?
Yes.
Okay, and is there a second?
Yes, I'll second it. This is Craig.
Thank you, Commissioner Ambrosiani, for the second. So I will open the discussion first to Commissioner Hatfield, who made the motion.
I think that we spent a lot of time on this and we've thought a lot about it. I mean, just hearing what all of the cell phone companies have to say, it sounds like there shouldn't be a problem if any of their towers can only reach 4 to 6 blocks. Our entire town is 4 to 6 blocks, so they could have many options to put it in the resource management areas on the outskirts of town. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the work that everybody's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ambrosiani, as a second, do you have a comment to make on this item?
I do. I'm really concerned about how this is playing out, in that we do have questions about site options, and we did get feedback from Verizon and AT&T's wireless policy group, basically saying that we were going against federal laws with some of the things we had put in our policy. The wireless policy group has offices in Denver, San Francisco, LA, Seattle, Portland. They got something like 50 years worth of telecom experience, 40 plus years worth of real estate experience. And we have not had any experts that I know of, other than the telecom companies, who are very large, probably the largest in the country, the two. And we haven't had any expert advice for the City of Seward's perspective on this policy, on this ordinance resolution. I think before I could vote for this, I would like some level of expertise on behalf of the city to at least review this, to make sure we're not stepping into something we shouldn't be stepping into, because we don't have a clue. And we're up against some folks that have a ton of experience and could be walking us right into the slaughterhouse and we wouldn't know it. I don't think they are. I think things are going pretty well, but as far as due diligence, I'm very uncomfortable proceeding with this without any real expertise, expert advice on it. That's my...
Thank you, Commissioner Ambrosiani. I do have just a little follow-up to that. I believe our attorneys have reviewed this resolution and ordinance. Is that correct, staff?
Yes, Chair.
And I think we had comments from them on our draft or something at the work session. Is there anything additional that we've heard from our legal department?
Not since the work session, no.
And what again were their comments? Could you remind us of what our legal staff comments were about our ordinance?
The changes to section 3 were the biggest change that was made, and that was the denial of any permit application shall be in writing and supported by substantial evidence. No decision regulating the placement, construction, or modification of a communication tower may be made on the basis of environmental or health effects of radio frequency emission if the antennas and other equipment on the communication tower comply with the Federal Communication Commission regulations. All permit applications shall be processed in a timely manner under the circumstances not reasonably delayed. And then we have added Part D, appeals to the Board of Adjustment in the case where an application has been denied shall be made pursuant to Seward City Code section 15.10.410. Those were the
thank you.
Significant changes from them.
Okay. So, in response to Mr. Ambrosiani's concerns, did our attorneys express any concern that our ordinance was doing what we've heard the Wireless Group LLC and these telecommunications companies think we may be stepping into as a denial based on this ordinance? I personally don't think we're denying a communication tower. I think we've, as been pointed out at several meetings, we have a very narrow city, and with the areas, the zones that we're going to allow with a conditional use permit, I think we've covered it. But did our attorneys say anything about those comments from the wireless group?
Madam Chair, our attorneys reviewed the resolution and our changes requesting a conditional use permit, and at the time they didn't have any problem with it and did not see any problem with us moving it forward, and that is why it's in front of you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners wishing to speak on the ordinance or on the resolution recommending the ordinance?
Madam Chair, I'd like to say something.
Yes, Commissioner Swan?
Yes, I guess my opinion on some of this is as soon as we move it into a conditional use area, that gives us a lot of leeway to make adjustments. And if the telecommunication companies find that there is a specific need that creates a an issue with the the current ordinances, I think the conditional use permit process allows us to make some adjustments.
Thank you, Commissioner Swan. Commissioner Ambrosiani, Commissioner Hatfield, do you have any follow-up before I go through the rest of the commission for comment?
Commissioner Damas has a question or a comment.
Commissioner Damas, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just wondering which city attorney looked at that, and because I feel like that was right in the time of the change.
That was the previous.
It was the previous city attorney, and would it behoove us to have the current city attorney take a gander at it?
It would be part
Commissioner Damas, the previous attorney has also reviewed it.
And the current attorney?
Correct, Mr. Brooks Chandler.
And then I guess I would agree with some of Commissioner Ambrosiani's sentiment. I've really been going back and forth with this, but I've been, supportive of not wanting a huge cell phone tower right downtown like a lot of people. At the same time, I don't know what the other solution is. I own a building at 215 4th Avenue downtown. There was a man having a seizure across the street the other day. I used my cell phone to try to call 911, and guess what? It didn't work. I couldn't get service. So then I was like, oh man, we need a cell phone tower downtown. So I don't know if I feel comfortable passing this yet. I don't know if we've had enough expert advice. I feel like we've only gotten our information from the cell phone companies. We've heard that they can't put the cell phone towers up in the resource management areas, but we've also heard that they can. So I'd like clarification on where those can go before I feel comfortable voting, before I feel comfortable recommending this, I guess. I don't think that, the companies, I think that they would have put the towers somewhere else if they could have at this point. And I think that to me, I feel like we need more clarification and more answers where the towers can go that would solve the problem, or are we completely eliminating having this option of more internet usage by doing this? So I guess that's where I'm kind of at right now.
Thank you, Commissioner Damas. Commissioner Charbonneau, did you have any comments regarding the resolution or ordinance?
Not this moment.
Commissioner Cease?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I'm concerned that the people that we've heard from in objection to the ordinance as written are people that would benefit from a broader sweep of allowing or a more liberal ordinance than we are currently looking at in front of us. This is the first I've heard from Commissioner DeMoss that she had issues with making a 911 call downtown. I think I've made statements in the past that I have some issues, but I live in a stucco house which has dunnage, chicken wire, tar paper, cement, and so that's my issue. That's the kind of house. So if you have a building like that, I can see maybe you're having some difficulty making a cell phone call or getting internet service or whatever coming in, the wireless communications. But I think I don't know if placing a tower closer to my house would change that for me. I think, again, with what Commissioner Swan said about the conditional use process, that's as long as we allow that in all of the areas that we want to put it, allow it, we'd be doing our due diligence. I do not want to see it in a residential area. I've heard from a member of the public, again, that they did not want to see it in a residential area, any residential area. I've also heard from a member of the public that they don't want to see it in the central business district, which we have resource management, auto commercial, urban residential, which would be residential. So auto commercial and resource management surrounding our central business district, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, staff. So I'm probably going to vote for this to move forward. I don't think I think I'm in a place where I like what we've done, what we've drafted, the information we've received from our legal staff and our staff, and the research we've done with other Alaskan communities. I feel comfortable moving this forward. So does that give anyone else reason to comment?
I guess
I'll ask the commission. Has anyone else heard from a member of the public about issues with wireless communications during regular days of the week, not 4th of July, not when we have two cruise ships in town? Is anyone else having issues or heard that people were having issues?
No.
Just please speak up.
I get great coverage here, out of my property, out of town, and when I'm coming home from the boat, out by Rugged Island. So I'm fantastic coverage everywhere. So I don't know what a lot of the complaints are, except for in really dense structured buildings. And I'm not sure that more towers is going to change that. I could be wrong. But I mean, I know there's certain buildings that just aren't going to let waves into them just because of how well they're built. But
okay.
I'm our architect.
Mine's not built that well.
Commissioner Hatfield, do you have a comment? Commissioner Cease.
You want to go first?
Sorry.
I just had a point of clarification.
Commissioner Cease, go ahead.
Okay.
He hasn't spoken yet.
Yes, as I left the house tonight, I have a wife, and she says, I don't want to see any towers in residential areas. So I'm passing that on.
I've heard that likely
Thank you.
from a number of people.
I guess I would just say that Madam Chair, the 911 call situation just happened a couple days ago, but we've had the problem for a long time, and I do have several tenants that complain about it on a regular basis that live upstairs. I mean, I have great coverage when I walk outside, so I don't know what the deal is. It's not my expertise, but I feel as though some of us have questions that just still haven't been answered. But I guess, you know, maybe that can be part of the future process as well in the CUPs.
Thank you, Commissioner DeMoss. And Commissioner Ambrosiani, Hatfield, or Swan, do you have any additional comments before we ask for a roll call vote?
I would make a comment.
Yes. Commissioner Swan?
So I think with the ordinances we're putting in, I guess I personally believe that we are definitely in need of more towers. I mean, it's the growth of the industry and stuff like that. That's not really a question whether we need more towers or different towers. But I think these changes provide for the ability to put in towers. That's not something we're denying. And the federal regulations, the way I've heard it being said, says if in fact we have put ordinances in that a certain area cannot be provided service, then we're having a problem. And I don't see us denying that until a communication company could come up and say, we have this area of Seward that cannot get service. And you've made regulations that prohibit us from providing the equipment so that we can provide that service. Then we start running into issues with the federal regulations. And I don't think that has occurred. And the other thing that I think we have in Seward is still the ability to provide variances. And as I mentioned earlier, through the conditional use process, we do have the ability to make adjustments so that us as a commission can provide the constituents of the public the services that are required. And I think we've covered that. I think this is a step in the right direction, and I plan to approve it.
Commissioner Ambrosiani, did you have your hand up for further comment?
I did. Very good of you to see that. I do have an issue with using the conditional use process to get what I think we should resolve in the ordinance. I think there's probably ways to provide better telecom service in our community than sticking towers up in the view shed or in the downtown area or in the residential area. And I don't think we've heard those options. And I know we've asked about site options. I know we've asked about towers on the periphery of town, and we've really never got a straight answer. Not that I heard. And I'm just really concerned that if we don't have it in the ordinance, that we're going to get pushed into this conditional use process, and someone's going to put a tower right in downtown, and then we're going to have a bunch of pissed off people. So I'm just very concerned that there's other options, and we just don't know about them because we really don't have that expertise.
Commissioner Ambrosiani, would you like to make an amendment to this resolution or to this ordinance tonight to not allow a conditional use permit in a certain area? I've heard that people did not want them in the commercial business district. Did you want to take the conditional use process off of the table on that area?
I'm not sure because I don't know if that's going to be another violation of prohibiting internet service according to what the telecom companies are stating, and if then we're going to end up in legal action because of this ordinance. I really think we need some expertise other than what we've already had look at this. Give us some feedback before we can proceed. So my recommendation would be to table it until we can get some expertise to review this and tell us if we have any other options.
Okay. We've asked for expertise to come to our work sessions for over a year, and the expertise we've gotten are from two companies that want to put towers in our town. We did have our legal department, and I guess we've had our past legal department and our current both review this and have not made any mention that we were looking at a possible lawsuit. But again, there are attorneys who would represent us in a lawsuit. So I'm not sure what other, if you're asking for the city to hire a nonpartisan legal department, or where we look to find a communication specialist outside of the lobbyists that have already spoken on this item. I don't know where we find an impartial specialist, and
I found 3 on the internet while we were sitting here. So.
Pardon me?
I found 3 on the internet while we were sitting here. So.
Okay,
I think we have
are they
some
lobbyists or?
I don't have all the, I don't know for sure, but there were 3 other companies that compete against the policy group that we've been hearing from.
Competing with the policy group, which the policy group that we've heard from is covering both companies that want to do towers in our town. So I guess I'm listening to your point, and it's valid. I don't know if we have a budget to hire a specialist. I will ask our community development director her opinion on this.
Madam Chair, I don't believe that the city would enter into a contract with a different attorney, because we are in a contract with an attorney firm.
I'm not sure these were attorneys from these groups that Mr. Ambrosiani found, but if you're saying you don't think they'd spend money on another review, I guess if that were the case, the council, this goes from us to the council. We're not the final vote on it. The council will hear it, have an introduction where public comment can be made, and then the public hearing process, which I'm sure they'll hear from the wireless group and the AT&T and Verizon companies, as we have, and hopefully from some members of the public.
I'm sorry. Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission would either approve. If they approved, we would move forward with this. Your resolution is approving the ordinance for the code changes. It would then be put out, and it would be listened to twice, so it would be introduced and then heard twice because it's an ordinance change.
Right. So, I'd like to take the action tonight on recommending this ordinance to council through our resolution, and they'll get our minutes, and they'll hear our comments and concerns, and then hopefully members of the public will also speak up, and the council can hire someone, another specialist, to come in and give us more information, or go with our legal firm's statements of change, what they felt needed to be changed, and move this to passage. So one final time, is there any more comments before I ask for a roll call vote? Or Commissioner Ambrosiani, did you want to make a motion for postponement?
Yes, I would.
I would second
So I'd
that.
like to make a motion to postpone this ordinance for, 30 days? When's our next meeting? Is it about 30 days?
October 6th is the next.
And request that the city provide us more independent telecommunication advice as to solutions to our internet, solutions that would improve our internet without downtown towers.
I'll second that.
Who seconded it? DeMoss?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion by Ambrosiani, second by DeMoss. Discussion on the motion to postpone until the October 6th meeting. Hearing no commissioners, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
I'm sorry, can I say something on that?
Yes, please go ahead,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
DeMoss.
I guess I just wanted to share that I think the most important thing is to find out where, if the cell phone towers cannot be allowed in the downtown district or without a huge setback, where are they gonna go? We need to know that. So that's why I would like to postpone that and get more neutral information.
Okay, Commissioner DeMoss, the two places that I've heard companies looking at to put cell towers from fairly reliable sources were the northeast corner of the Resurrection Lutheran Church, and then the comments from Ms. Casagrande regarding her lot on 5th Avenue.
I'm sorry, I think I worded that wrong.
Anyone else?
I guess what I was trying to say is where the cell phone towers would go to solve the problem that we need to solve. If we don't allow them in, say, those two spots that you just referred to. That's what I think we need to know. How do we solve this problem without putting those towers where nobody wants them? And what is that solution? And I mean, isn't that our job as planning and zoning to come up with that and get that information? Or is this the point that we send it to council? I don't know.
Well, I believe our ordinance is stating where we think towers can go and solve it, but we don't have any more information other than the wireless group and AT&T and Verizon who want to put in towers. Commissioner Hatfield, I see your hand. Please go ahead and speak.
I have a question for the community development director or the planner possibly. If we do postpone this for 30 days, do we have any sort of budget to contract somebody who is nonpartisan with any of these companies to give us more information about where cell phone towers could go in Seward? Or is that just gonna kind of just sit there for 30 days and we're gonna face the same issue again?
Madam Chair, to Commissioner Hatfield, we do not have a budget. We would have to go in front of council and request that money.
Commissioner Cease, did I see your hand up a moment ago?
Yes, you did. How long has this thing been going on? A couple of years, 3 years, 5 years? And I was thinking, it's been quite some time. I have a memory shortage. So I'm just thinking that another 30 days, if we could resolve some of the things that on Brocioni, how do you say it?
Chair Eckler?
Yes, go ahead, Director Wild.
If I can just point out that what we've provided you has been with deep and massive research. At this time, even if you guys postponed it 30 days, I don't know that we could bring anything back new to you. Even if you're requesting us to look and bring you back something new, we have exhausted those opportunities to be able to even look and find. We don't know where to go. That's why we looked into other cities and how they have incorporated their wireless and tower codes.
Thank you, Commissioner or Director Wild. I believe I read in some of the information from the wireless group that with regards to Ms. DeMoss's question about where could a cell tower go in the downtown district and central business district that would, they say, is lacking. I believe they said that was proprietary information and that they were not able to give that information out without disclosing things to other companies. So I'm not sure we're going to get that information from anyone unless we hire a private company to do that. And we did not put a moratorium on cell towers, so we do not have a strong ordinance or code right now about cell towers. So my concern with postponing for 30 days would be that we don't have any way to not see a cell tower go up in, I don't know how long it takes to put one up, but I would probably vote no on the motion to postpone. Any further comments? Okay, I will ask for a roll call vote on the motion to postpone.
All right, this is a roll call vote on the motion to postpone this item until the October 6th regular meeting. Hatfield.
No.
Swan.
No.
Cease.
No.
Charbonneau.
No.
Ambrosiani.
Yes.
DeMoss.
Yes.
And Chair Eklund.
No.
All right, that motion to postpone fails.
Okay. Any further comment before we ask for a roll call vote on the main motion of the resolution to forward the ordinance for council for adoption?
I just have one question for clarification.
Go ahead.
In section 2C for setbacks and safety, it says a communications tower must be located no less than a distance equal to the factor of 1.1 of the tower height. So are we saying like it has to be slightly larger than the height of the tower? Or is that supposed to be like a ratio of 1 to 1?
No, that was 1.1, so 110%.
Okay,
of
gotcha.
the height.
Is there a reason why we did it more than 100%?
We followed our WEX, which is 1.1, and we also gave the ability to reduce that through the breakaway engineering.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments prior to the roll call vote on the main motion? And remember, this is coming to council for public comment for at least 2 meetings. Commissioner Ambrosiani, did you have anything further?
Our gentleman in the audience, I believe, wants to say something. I don't know if we can relax the rules at this point. Pardon?
Not at this time.
Okay.
No, we're done with discussion, and again, the public will have opportunity to comment at the city council meetings. City council can amend, postpone, enact, or fail this ordinance. So there's plenty of opportunity past us, but I believe we have done our due diligence on this item as far as we could. I'll ask for the roll call vote at this time, please.
All right, this is a roll call vote on resolution 2020-10. Cease.
Yes.
DeMoss.
Yes.
Swan.
Yes.
Ambrosiani.
No.
Hatfield.
Yes.
Charbonneau.
Yes.
And Chair Eklund.
Yes.
Resolution 2020-10 is passed and approved.
Thank you. That takes us to item 9 on new business to set a work session topic for September 15th, 2020. There is a memo in our packet on page 19. Staff, would you like to cover that for us, please?
Yes. Excuse me. Based on the discussion that we had over the zoning map and the rezoning, I'd like to discuss some going back to a section of the zoning map that looks more like the original. We also have to discuss the walkable murals policy. We've been working on that. And then we wanted to discuss as far as other land uses in Title 15, short-term rentals or lodging. We have a handout in this agenda packet that talks about short-term rentals as well. And then we have the joint work session with the Seward Bear Creek flood service area. Let's see here. That would be for the October 6th meeting, not for this September.
Thank you. So staff recommends that on September 15th in our work session we discuss walkable murals from 6 to 7 and then review and discuss amendment Title 15, the official zoning map and lodging at 7 until the end of the meeting. And then our reschedule our joint work session with the Seward Bear Creek Flood Service Area Board from 6 to 7 before our October 6th meeting. Is there any discussion on these recommendations?
I would like to say that I would really like to see the walkable mural application process be simple and move forward quickly, and hopefully we can finalize that at that work session because it's kind of long overdue. Excited to get that going, but that's all.
I have a
Okay.
on the
Commissioner Ambrosiani, was that you?
Yes, it is. On the second item, the amendments to Title 15 official zoning map, do we have proposed amendments?
No. So Title 15 has to do with the zoning and land use. That was just the basic discussion. I wanted to bring up the official zoning map in the form that we have now, and then how it was adopted in Ordinance 1989-626. And we have a copy of that in our office. And I just wanted to show what I've been working on to try and show the zoning as it actually was adopted rather than with the right-of-ways. So I'll have a map for us for that, for everybody to look at, or several maps for us to look at.
We're going to review and discuss the official zoning map, but not amendments to the map?
No, I'm sorry, not amendments to the map.
Okay, that could be taken out of that. And then it just says, and lodging. My concern is if we're not specific about what we're talking about, we could go on forever. So could that topic be a little more specific?
Well, part of what the commission had stated in the past is my understanding that we wanted to look into how we define and how we manage short-term rentals. So I was thinking that in a broad state, start broad and then move more detailed. So this would be one discussion of several, having to do with lodging, just getting the direction where people want to go. There are several people who do lodging on the commission, so I think it's a good time to look at it and, you know, have a fair hearing on both the lodging side and the long-term rental side.
This is Commissioner or Chair Eklund. I think that the lodging discussion is going to take up a whole work session. And I agree with Commissioner DeMoss regarding the walkable murals, that it would be nice to get a draft policy done and then move it through the channels that it needs to move through. So be able to leave the meeting with that done. And then if you wanted to give us an overview of what you are talking about the 1989 ordinance, which was the, I guess, the base for our zoning maps, that would be great. But I think we could move the lodging onto the next month's work session, which would include an overview of what our contractors have found regarding lodging, what our borough is saying regarding tax collections, what our city business license are saying regarding the amount of business license and bed tax and all of that. So that's a lot to put on your plate as well as to give to us in one meeting. So is there any, and then I have no issue with the Bear Creek Flood Service joint board going up from 6 to 7 on the 6th. Does anyone else have any other input on that?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Swan.
So I think it's a great idea to go ahead and get moving forward on the walkable murals. I think that's an excellent thing that we should be working on next work session. I can see that a discussion of how the information from our contractors that we've been collecting for a couple of years, it'd be good to have a discussion on that as it affects the zoning map. So we're not going to discuss on what we're going to do zoning, because we've already talked about we want to break up and work with different zones and work with certain sections of town on an individual basis and instead of trying to hit the whole zoning map across the board. We've already had that discussion, and then COVID came, nothing's moved forward. But I would like to see a discussion on how the information that we've gotten from the contractor, along with other information, it'd be very good at this point in time, in my opinion, to have a discussion on that information. And that does affect the zoning map. And so I could see that being the other half of our next work session. And the other comment I would like to make, as far as the when we talked to the idea of having the Bear Creek Flood Service discussion on October 6th, I really want to start moving forward, or I think what stopped was our discussions and moving forward as far as doing our beachfront. And if we have a joint session on that, I would like to make sure that that is one of the primary topics we talk about, because we are coming into winter, and a lot of the things we talked about are things that if we have major flooding in the wintertime, we want to have someplace we can put this debris that needs to be moved, and if we can get the permit process in place to have some material moved to our beach, this is the time of year that we need to get that moving, because we're going into winter. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' discussion on the work sessions and the Bear Creek joint work session?
Yes, Chair. This is
Go ahead.
Ambrosiani. On the lodging piece, could we actually see the reports from the contractor for the work session? We've done discussions before sometimes without reports. but I would like us to be able to have the reports. And you also mentioned, you gave a very good list, Chair, Ms. Chair. You said there was info from the contractor, was it sales tax information from the borough? And I think one other piece of information.
Bed tax from the city,
Yeah.
and business licenses
So if we
from
could
the
see
city.
those in a written format rather than verbal for the meeting.
I agree with that. And I agree with Commissioner Swan's comments regarding the topic for the Bear Creek work session. So do you need a motion on this, staff, or is this enough input? And if there's anyone in opposition to moving forward with the walkable murals, a lodging discussion, and the Bear Creek joint work session with beachfront repair or maintenance. Does anyone have any objection to that?
I don't have any objection. I was just gonna comment that I think the local elections are on October 6th, so maybe will that be at the library, or will that be a different day? Or will that be here?
We'll do it at the community room.
Community room.
Yes, in the library. Yes.
Because I think
So
voting is here at City Hall.
Yeah. Okay, so the work session and our regular meeting on October 6th will be at the community library.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And we don't need a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner DeMoss. I see Commissioner Cease, you have your hand up?
No, just
No?
scratching.
Can I just
Okay.
ask, Madam Chair, can I just ask, so we're clear about it then, that the consensus of the commission is to go ahead with the staff recommended topics in this memo? Yes? See?
The staff recommended topics, but not the zoning 1989 ordinance. But I would like Eric to prepare maybe a memo to go into a packet as an informational item on the research he's done on the zoning map. And then we get that information in writing and would not have it as a work session item, since I don't think he was needing any action or an amendment made during that. So I think that the consensus was workable murals and lodging at the September 15th work session, and beachfront at the Bear Creek Joint Flood Board work session.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
And the lodging, that was just the reporting on what we've gathered so far, and we'll tackle other parts of that in the future. That's my understanding, is that correct?
Yeah, right, what you can gather from the sources mentioned, and what we had asked for several times over the last year or two was a ground truthing of where the current lodging is in the zones that it is in, and what type of lodging it is. Is it nightly rentals, long-term rentals? And we haven't seen that yet either, so still looking for that. But I think you've got the consensus of the commission, unless I hear something further from them. And you can also bring that up in comments, council comments at the end. So that takes us
Madam
to, I hear you, Commissioner Hatfield.
Yes, I just wanted, and I think that other people might think the same. I would hope that we put priority on the walkable murals and maybe bring that to a conclusion in that work session. I don't know if that means like having an actual application ready for review or what, but I'm hoping that we can actually come to like some sort of conclusion with that first, and then do as much as we can with the lodging after that, if I'm understanding everybody correctly.
I like that.
Okay.
Yep.
That was my thought. Thank you, Commissioner Hatfield, for the inquiry. I think everybody's in agreement. If you're not, now's your chance to speak. Okay.
We'll
All
have
right.
an application for that.
Moving on, we have item 9B, discuss scheduling a biannual or quarterly joint work session with Historic Preservation Commission. I'm not sure why this is on here, a biannual or quarterly joint work session. They come to us when they have certain items they want to discuss with us. So can someone enlighten the commission on this item?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Swan, did you want to start, or do you want Director Wild to go ahead?
Director Wild, please.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is brought forward because I have been attending the historic preservation meetings, and there is a little bit of a disconnect between all the other advisory boards, and knowing what procedures need to be done and to get to help change their code, or add code, because historic preservation doesn't have a lot of code. So I brought this up and brought this to the commission with the hope that we can meet at least 3 times a year for an hour to just hear their thoughts or present things to them. We've talked about doing a historic zoning district with some development requirements, and they really want to be part of that, but they need to understand how that procedure works. And so I feel that it's a really good opportunity for us to work with these other advisory commissions to help them in the process when it comes to code and understanding.
Okay, Commissioner Swan.
Yeah, this came up from our meeting with the city council when we discussed ways to preserve the historic nature of the downtown area. And that brought forward in exactly what was just discussed is the Historic Preservation Commission they're not in tune with how to put together code changes for this. So this is an area that we were directed by the city council that absolutely requires both these groups to work together, in my opinion.
Okay, so could you, Director Wild, bring forth a calendar of those for us to approve as an action item at the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am. We were, tonight, that's in the memo, Andy and Eric were going to have you guys review the calendar to see if you wanted to do it sort of like we do with the flood board, and just move our meetings to where every regular meeting we would probably have the hour before either a work session with historic preservation, possibly move into having work sessions with PACAB, but that's down the road, but move it on to, and find out from you if you wanted to do it twice a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, how you guys wanted to proceed, and then we can definitely bring forward a calendar from that.
Okay, I'll open for discussion with the commission. Does anyone have any input on this item?
I'd make a comment.
Go ahead.
So, since I was chair of the Historic Preservation Commission about 15 years ago, I understand where they're having difficulties moving this forward, and I think that it would be appropriate to do this 4 times a year until we can get some ordinance changes or the changes we're looking for in the downtown area.
Okay, so we have a recommendation for quarterly work sessions. Any comment regarding that, or the 6 o'clock prior to a regularly scheduled meeting recommendation? Okay, so it looks like bring forth a calendar where there is a work session with either Historic Preservation or Bear Creek I think those are probably already scheduled, the joint ones with Bear Creek, and so find the spots where the start Pres work session at 6 prior to our regularly scheduled meetings, and bring that forward to us at the October 6th meeting for a motion.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay? All right. That takes us to, I believe, item 10 on the agenda, informational items. Is there anything that staff would like to highlight on the informational items and reports? I do want to thank you for the article on personal electronic device use at public meetings with these distance telephonic Zoom meetings, where on a Zoom meeting with the borough I can mute myself and turn the video off. I could be doing just about anything, having a group discussion in the back of the room I'm in, and no one would know. So there's a lot of clear direction on what is allowed and what isn't allowed in that article, personal electronic device use at public meetings, page 37. I appreciate staff bringing that forward for our review. Any other comments, anything from staff?
No? Andy?
No, thank you.
No.
Thank you. That takes us to commission comments. Item 11. I'll start with Commissioner DeMoss.
None, thank you.
Commissioner Charbonneau.
I just want to thank staff for putting together and doing all this hard work for us.
Commissioner Hatfield.
I just wanted to thank staff for doing all the work on the cell phone towers. It looks like a lot went into it, and I think that it's good that we finally have something very specific in the code for it. So, thank you.
Commissioner Ambrosiani.
I also want to thank the staff for your preparation on the cell phone tower ordinance. A lot of work went into that, so thank you for pulling that together.
Commissioner Cease.
I agree with all these questions or all these statements about the hard work and due diligence in putting this together.
Commissioner Swan.
Well, I would just like to make a comment on the exceptional job our chair did during this meeting from a telephonic position. I appreciate your hard work, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Swan. Thank you for calling in tonight. I will be calling in on the September 15th work session as well, but I will be back live at October 6th. At this time, is there anyone that wanted to make a closing comment from the citizens?
Yes, we have some.
Thank you.
Tanguy Lebrecht, again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, Madam Chair. That is fabulously run meeting. Thank you very much. I want to say that even though I'm here as a private citizen, I am a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, and I am very happy that you guys are willing to meet with us. I think it's going to be really informational for us, and I think it will do some good work to be able to inform you with some things as well, too. I think we all have the same goal, which is to see Seward prosper while protecting our cultural resources. So I really appreciate that, again, speaking just as a citizen, not on behalf of the commission, but as a commissioner, telling you thank you, and wanted to thank Commissioner Swan as well for advocating, as well as Ms. Wild for your comments as well, and all of you for being open to that. Thank you also for allowing me to comment a couple times now on the cell phone towers and so on, even though I was not in the prearranged public comments. So thank you for allowing me to sure I'll have some opinions and I'll share at an appropriate time. But thank you very much for allowing me to be part of the process and for including the historic preservation in this as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there any commission or administration response to citizens' comments? Sorry, I didn't. Did anyone else come in during the meeting that wanted to speak at this time?
Nope.
Okay. Any citizen or any commission or administration response to the citizens' comment? I see no one, hear no one. All right. I will accept a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sharp.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.
You've been waiting all night to do that.